We just got breaking news that we could be right around the corner from smart contracts being launched on the XRP ledger. In this video, I want to talk about exactly what that means for XRP moving forward, what that means for the protocol as a whole, because this is actually getting a ton of pushback on X right now. I want to break down what all the controversy is around this issue, as well as what people like David Schwartz are saying about smart contracts on the XRP ledger. There is a serious risk that smart contracts could slow down XRP and put it in an ETH-like scenario where it's too expensive to use for payments. But there's other people saying you absolutely need programmability to bring more developers. In this video, we're going to cover this entire issue, so make sure to stick around for this whole thing. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do mean so much. Also, if you have any good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start this off and really just outline what's going on right now in the XRP ledger ecosystem around this massive update that was proposed earlier today. Now, it's important to understand that smart contracts on the XRP ledger is not a new debate. This debate has actually been going on for a very long time. It started about 4 years ago, actually building some of the programmability into the XRP ledger, but about a year ago, it seemed like we were pretty close to its actual implementation. Now, right before it was ultimately put through, we kind of had some pushback by Ripple saying that they weren't sure if this was actually good for the ledger, and it kind of fell apart. Now, this created a big divide in the XRP community because a lot of the developers were excited about the possibility of having smart contracts, but obviously, if it was going to risk the XRP ledger being good for payments, well, then there's no point in implementing something that's going to destroy the core purpose of the ledger. So we kind of saw it put on pause. Now, this entire process is very important to understand because this has essentially led us to where we are today. Right now, what we saw for the first time ever is Ripple reinitiating the idea to start dealing with smart contracts on the XRP ledger again. Now, there is no commitment on a time frame. There is no commitment on how the smart contracts are implemented. But what we are seeing is Ripple is once again interested in the idea of having smart contracts on the XRP ledger. In my opinion, this is obviously very exciting. Any programmability on the XRP ledger that makes it more powerful for developers to build new applications is obviously a good thing. I have always been under the impression that while this programmability is important and we want more developers, we need to make sure we don't kill the golden goose, which is a fast, efficient blockchain that is good for payments. At the end of the day, there is 1,000 smart contract applications out there. They're popping up new ones every single day. And to have the XRP ledger just thrown into the ring of one of those smart contract platforms, I don't believe is beneficial for the ledger as a whole. Let's face the facts. The XRP ledger has been a top 10 blockchain for almost its entire existence. That has not changed even with the Ripple SEC case, and many projects with a lot more functionality on them are still significantly smaller than the XRP ledger. So while developers and programmability and all that is important, it's important to realize it's not the end-all be-all, and there's obviously other critical things at place. The XRP ledger being a fast and efficient blockchain for payments is critical because payments are one of the killer apps of cryptocurrency. And I believe the XRP ledger needs to make sure it remains positioned in that spot. Now, with that said, if we can add smart contracts in a way in which those payments are preserved, that speed and efficiency remains true to the XRP ledger, then I believe it's a no-brainer. Why would you not want more functionality? Why would you not want more developers when you can also have the speed and efficiency preserved of XRP? Now, with all that said, there is a lot of pushback going on right now, and a lot of that pushback really comes from people who believe Ripple's kind of been all over the place in this decision-making process. A lot of people are saying, why did Ripple abandon the smart contracts a year ago only to be bringing them back up now? And to be honest, the truth is Ripple had no idea what smart contracts could do to the network. Ripple wanted to ensure that these smart contracts weren't going to be damaging. For them, it made a lot of sense to say, hey, let's see how these things perform, see if they really are as good as many people think they're going to be, and if they succeed, we'll talk about implementing them later. Now, for some people, this has been a massive miscommunication. Ripple's leading people all over the place. And while I am not in that communication circle, and I do not doubt that Ripple could have done a much better job in communicating their ultimate vision, I think the truth is Ripple didn't know what the vision was. Ripple's really just trying to implement processes and protocols to the XRP ledger that's going to make it more powerful. And it's not like Ripple just has some magical vision of what the future is going to look like. They have to take these things as they go. And I believe Ripple just really didn't know whether or not implementing hooks on main chain a year ago was a good idea or not. So they chose to push off the implementation until the technology could be proven more. But what we're seeing now is Ripple is now once again considering the idea of implementing this smart contract language on the XRP ledger. Now, I will say one important thing before we get into what David has to say about this. It's really important to understand that even if we did have smart contracts, they would not be as in-depth as the Ethereum smart contracts. We want to make sure that the XRP ledger has light smart contract functionality. We really want the big, critical, important core protocols built directly into layer one. What does that mean? Well, if you take a look at something like the AMM is built directly into the XRP ledger. Why is this important? Well, in the Ethereum case, you essentially have 5 to 6 AMMs on the Ethereum chain, probably much more than that, to be honest. The problem is then you have liquidity at each specific AMM. You don't have that on the XRP ledger because the XRP ledger has the AMM built into the core protocol. The XRP ledger itself is the AMM. And because of that, all the liquidity gets aggregated to the core AMM for the protocol, while in Ethereum's case, you essentially have AMMs all over the place and you really don't know necessarily where that liquidity is being centralized to. It's super important that you aggregate liquidity to create the most liquid ecosystem possible rather than having segregated liquidity all in one ecosystem. So I believe this approach by the XRP ledger can actually win big. You have the big, important, critical proposals, things like the AMM, things like decentralized ID, things like clawbacks, coded directly into the chain itself, while you have other functionality tacked on top of it for developers to build one-off applications. Now, I don't think the XRP ledger is ever going to be the chain of programmability, the chain of building all these different things. But I don't think it really has to be, right? That's what side chains are for. We want to make sure the XRP ledger is fast and efficient at payments. And David Schwartz has said this exact same thing. In fact, when he was answering questions to why Ripple pivot on this, he actually made a very interesting statement about what hooks could provide, but what it still needs to work on. Take a look at this. He said, I recently have become convinced it is possible to come up with a proposal for smart contracts on the XRP ledger that, one, is small and safe enough to deploy on mainnet without significant risk to things like transactions or price stability or performance for payments, a jumping off point for building complex and powerful features over time that should demand there is an initial proposal to prove itself, and sufficient to enable meaningful real-world use cases even in the first release. Now, he says, I'm hoping this means this isn't something that needs to be experimented with and researched for 2 years, and hoping that something can be resolved and put forward very quickly that solves all three of these points. And he says one could argue that hooks already meets most of these criteria, but he's skeptical on the first one. So David Schwartz is still kind of worried that hooks on main chain would slow down the chain and make it not efficient for payments. So that's the big conundrum we're in right now. Do we add smart contracts and risk the core functionality of the XRP ledger, or do we say we absolutely need smart contracts now to attract more developer activity? To be honest, I sit somewhere in the middle. I don't necessarily know if you need smart contracts and you need development on the main chain. Now, the reason I say this is because it makes a lot more sense to me to just have sidechains spun up where developers build their specific protocol or project and then just have a bridge over from one ecosystem to another. Now, that's difficult because bridges are inefficient in crypto. So you have a whole nother problem when you implement that strategy. But if you could implement light smart contracts that have a low risk of slowing down the XRP ledger main chain while still allowing some programmability on that main chain, I think that's probably the win-win of this entire thing. Like I said, we want to make sure that people can build the things they want to build on main chain. And if that requires some smart contract capability, it's important to have that. But the most important thing to me is to understand that at the end of the day, what makes the XRP ledger so special is the fact that it's different from everything else out there. you can create another application that has fast and efficient smart contracts. We see more and more protocols popping up every single day that have that capability. The XRP ledger just being another one of these, I don't believe really provides that much value in the grand scheme of things. We want to make sure the XRP ledger is unique and differentiated. And for me, that means having unique and differentiated abilities that no other blockchain has. So I want to absolutely make sure that the XRP ledger is fast and efficient. And I don't believe Ripple being prudent about this is a bad thing. I think it's smart. We all need to make sure that the XRP ledger remains fast, secure, efficient, and can achieve what it was intended to achieve based on its initial build. And that is solving moving value from one place to another. I think the XRP ledger right now is positioned perfectly to do that. And while I think adding more programmability would help, I think it's important to understand that we don't want to add programmability just to add programmability and kill the core function of the XRP ledger. At its root, I think this is what David Schwartz and Ripple have been scared of. They want to add the smart contracts, they want to add the functionality, but they need to make sure that the XRP ledger remains what makes the XRP ledger so powerful. So what I believe is likely going to happen is that we are going to see hooks developed on the side. We're going to continue to see experimentation around it. And ultimately, we are going to see hooks brought over to main chain. I think we are going to reach a point where we're very confident this is not going to hurt the XRP ledger. We are going to reach a point where it makes sense to implement these to foster new adoption on the chain. And the XRP ledger is just going to get more powerful. And this goes to my core thesis behind XRP. Right now, we are in the very early stages of blockchain. These things are going to get more and more powerful, and as that technology improves, we're going to be able to implement things like smart contracts without any risk of slowing down the chain. But right now, we have to be conservative. We need to be safe because one of the XRP's ledger's core feature is the fact that it has never really gone down. It's never really had a halt. It has been extremely consistent. We don't want to put that at risk. I believe when it comes to a lot of these new features, they will be implemented with time, but we need to make sure that XRP remains the XRP that has got us to the point we were at today. We were at a very historic time. XRP got sued by the SEC, still in the top 10, still one of the top blockchains out there being implemented on exchanges all over the world, central banks exploring it for CBDCs, all these different things. We want to make sure we don't kill the golden goose, but if new features can be added in an efficient, clean, and useful way, there's no reason to turn them down. Guys, I hope this offered at least a balanced view on everything going on with smart contracts right now. There's a lot of very passionate people in the XRP community who probably think very strongly one way or another. But it's important to understand there's always two sides to all of it. And I just try to take the most balanced approach from each side and understand, hey, what is good about smart contracts? What could be detrimental? And overall, how do we implement this in a way where it's a win-win for everyone? Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. And for now, Mickle out.